Okay, I just restarted the video. This is part 3 of the long drive. I might just string these together. My free software only does 720p, which isn't great. Let's force a left turn across that road, and then let's go out here. No, that's pretty boring. Let's force a left, and then come over here. Okay, that's what I was wanting. Really, it's only 2 turns, but there's some stuff going on there too. So it's going to be incapable. Reset that. It's going to be unable to complete maneuver. Please assist. It's just not prepared to do cul-de-sacs yet. Obviously, a very simple thing. I think. I say obviously, simple for a human, but it's just not ready for this type of thing yet. So we'll get it out of that bind. Turn on FSD beta, and it says it should take about 5 minutes to get there.
I want a lot of variety, because variety is what pushes the envelope of the cloud of everything I know out. So I think Karpathy in his talk, he talked about, LCD, like a large data set, a clean data set, and a diverse data set. These are all important. Size is important, because without size, you can't get a big cloud. Clean is important. Clean is, for instance, if I've got labeled data, it has the right labels on it. Like every wrong.
Okay, we are blind. Okay. Actually, it wasn't blind by the time I got out there. That was extremely good.
Labeled piece of data that goes into your training set creates a lot of confusion. So it's one thing to gather a lot of data and get it labeled, and it's another thing to gather a lot of data and have really good labels. Like the label is the label that you need it to have, and it's the right label. When you have millions and millions of these things, if you go out and you gather your data with a steam shovel or whatnot, a certain amount of stuff you don't want, it gets in there, erroneous data. And so Karpathy, in his career, he has repeatedly emphasized how important it is to get your data really clean. Have a process that's very reliable about making reliable data, or have the people who label your data make sure they're really well trained, and you have a really good process that double and triple checks everything. So that's what he means by clean. And diverse is diverse is kind of like the secret superpower that the Tesla fleet has. The diversity is the thing that they can get from the Tesla fleet, not just volume. Diversity is, if I have a whole lot of data points and they're right next to each other, I'm not really learning a lot. I want as many different cases as I can to push that envelope of space in which I can interpolate, what I'm seeing, to be as big as possible, and that's diversity. You want diversity on lots of different dimensions. So, if there's only so much video of following a car down a highway that's useful, right? I think Karpathy had the thing. Yeah, I think he said at one point, at some point the neural network just gets it. You don't need any more examples of that. And so if you're going to train your neural network and you're going to have more data to make it better, pick something else, something that's relevant, something that's important, but something that you haven't seen before, right? So that's where we get more and more examples of stuff in the world. And once you've got a decent sized set, all the new stuff you're collecting is edge cases, right? They're out on the edge of the cloud, and you're pushing the boundary of that cloud of stuff that you can learn from bigger and bigger. So all those are super important. And something that is not widely or well enough appreciated about Tesla's fleet is Tesla's fleet of cars. They're not a million robots with 8 cameras that are out there just hoovering up every single thing they see. They're not just recording whatever they run across and uploading it to Tesla. What Tesla does is they send instructions.
Okay, so he's talking about this right now. Here's a situation. We have oncoming traffic and parked traffic. Good lane lines, but that could potentially be a situation where the system triggers it. Who knows?
Out to the fleet. I want this. I want tunnels. I want garages. I want roads.
This sign right here says entering O'Fallon city limit, speed limit 25 unless otherwise posted. It didn't that time, but a lot of times at different signs it will bite off and think that's a 25 mile per hour sign and drop it down. So if you have production software, you can only go 30, even though the speed limit might be 45. On this software here, you can go as fast as you want. So I can spin it up to 45 or whatever's appropriate. but I've seen it before bite off on those as actual speed limits. So this guy cut across the yellow. The car didn't. We did a very smooth, nice, great turn. Perfect.
The stripes are in the wrong place, or I want places where the signage is wrong, or they can specify by telling the car when you see this.
Okay, the destination was just straight ahead, so I'm gonna safely be heads down here, and let's just go to Home Depot. Navigate to Home Depot. There's a man on the side of the road here with a truck with a trailer coming up. Okay, going to Home Depot. And if you go back on my channel, all the way back to my very first self-driving video back in December of 2020, I think I did this exact stretch, was my very first full self-drive beta video. And I think it took me all the way to the front door, basically. And it looks like this is going to attempt to do the same thing. So that was like version who knows what. This is version 8.2. I have no idea how it's going to perform, but go back and watch that video and compare it to this. That one was at night. This is a daytime video, so I expect it will be about the same, but we'll find out.
Out of circumstances, capture that data and send it back to me. So the fleet, it's not a recording device primarily. What it is it's a search device, right? You tell it, find these things in the world for me and send them back, and the fleet goes out and it finds those things. It doesn't specifically go driving to do that kind of stuff, but when it sees something that's relevant to what Tesla needs right now. So what Tesla can do is when they're building this cloud, they can look at the edge of the cloud and say, I want more stuff right here, because that's what's going to push the boundary out. And so they tell the fleet, send me this stuff, and then they push the boundary out in that direction. That's how data collection is working, and that's the magic of the fleet. These are not a bunch of dumb cameras rolling around. These are very smart systems that already have really sophisticated neural networks in them. So you can give them quite elaborate criteria for what you're looking for, and they can use that computational power they have to look for very specific things that Tesla wants, find them, and then send just those things back to Tesla. So Tesla doesn't have to waste the labelers' time looking at more examples of stuff they've seen. They don't have to waste training time, training the network on more stuff that it's already seeing. The whole process becomes tremendously more efficient because of how powerfully selective the vehicles in the fleet are. This is a really important characteristic, which people mostly don't talk about, because I think it's...
Okay, that was handled very well. I've done that intersection a lot of times before. The lane lines are not necessarily visible as you pass through it, but we did a perfectly fine job of going through that intersection.
It's not an easy idea to get your head around, that these aren't just recording devices. They're very sophisticated sensors that are looking for very particular things that Tesla knows that they need, because they've looked at where the network is failing and they've decided, if I had more examples of this situation that's not working in, it would get better. And that process has worked really well for them.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a great stuff, because I mean, I want to take that a little further and ask if you can kind of explain the whole thing that Karpathy was talking about in terms of using triggers to collect the data. So in my understanding, you could do this kind of, let's say the car is kind of this search surveillance, recording, capturing device that you could send instructions to capture anything you want. So you could say, hey, I want to capture, trucks with bicycles on the back of the truck, or etc. But I mean, that's one way you can give the instruction for certain objects. But then another way is
Okay, so I was just getting ready to say, oh, that's kind of an unnecessary slowdown for that car getting in the turn lane, and then I noticed this. It was actually extremely, extremely good. We slowed down. I thought it was unnecessary for that car turning. Turns out we just very gracefully pulled in behind this car at a safe distance and safe speed with 0 relative closure rate. So that was actually extremely good. A lot of times it sees things that you don't, and it acts on things that you don't see. So
it run the car in shadow mode. So you run actually a version of software that isn't...
Sorry for the pauses. Okay, that was Aggressive, super weird. Okay, that was very strange out of nowhere. I was getting ready to say we should get over for this traffic that's merging in. It immediately started doing it in a very aggressive, weird, wavy way. So that was obviously wrong and odd how it swerved like that. Car was behind me, but a good solid 50 yards back. This guy is cutting across in front. Interesting. That was handled nicely. Red looks amazing on the Ys, by the way. Not sure how well it's picked up on camera, but the red Ys with the black wheels look absolutely incredible. Oh, his badge is black too. I don't think that looks good. Wow. Yeah, his badge and the dual motors are black. That looks extremely good.
Widely released. It's a private, let's say, version. You run it in shadow mode, where it's comparing itself on how perhaps it would drive compared to how the driver is driving, and based upon certain types of triggers or criteria, you can collect the different video clips, the discrepancies that you're searching for, and that becomes a kind of data collection approach. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah. So when Tesla knows that a particular rule that they create for a particular kind of thing they want, they call that a trigger. And it becomes a trigger when...
I can't get over how good that car looks. I don't know if that's the factory paint or not. It looks super, super good.
They write the rule down and they formulate it in such a way that they can push it out to the fleet as a rule that will trigger when it sees that thing in the real world. And then it'll capture all that data and send it back. Something that wasn't clear when Karpathy was talking about this is that the triggers that you want vary depending on where you are in the process. So he described that from, initially they built a network to try to imitate what the radar was doing, to try to predict what radar should have been telling them.
So I think I'm almost out of time on this video clip. I'm going to go ahead and stop it as we go through this intersection and then restart it.